Thank you, Annie. We're ready.
Welcome everybody to the LIAS Information Advice and Guidance webinar. I'm Anna Sheriff. I'm Partnership Manager here at LMP Education, and we also have my colleague Kate, who will introduce herself.
Oh, my name's Kate Buchanan, and I'm the tutor for LIAS Level 3.
So today we're going to talk to you about the Level 3 Library Information and Archive Services Apprenticeship. So just a little bit about background about LMP Education. So we have been voted UK's best training provider. So today's agenda, we're going to be running through a short LMP overview, benefits of an apprenticeship, who can complete an apprenticeship, the information with regards to LIAS, a little bit about off-job training, details about the endpoint assessment, and potential next steps if you want to follow this progression. So just a little overview on LMP Education. We're a work-based training provider. We've been delivering training for over 22 years now. We're rated good by Ofsted. Our last inspection took place in July 2025. We operate nationwide, so we don't operate in certain areas. We have a wide variety of businesses that we work with, so education, early years, finance, and we also deal with business and professional sectors. We're platinum investors in people, and we also have gold accredited for the leaders in safeguarding. We are part of Supporting Education Group, which is the 6th largest independent training provider in England. Our accreditations and awards are mentioned. Why choose LMP? So we work closely with our employers. We make sure that the training and the apprenticeships that are delivered are to the highest possible standard. We really encourage employers, learners, and ourselves. It's a three-way agreement between all parties. We use a variety of methods of assessment. We also look at learners on an individual basis. So each individual is individually assessed upon pre-enrolment to make sure that we're supporting the learners in the best way we can. All the qualifications are accredited with certificate upon successful completion. Our dedicated team of tutors, of which Kate covers LIAS, they are there to support you throughout your whole journey. Okay, so I am an account manager, so I will support the overall learner journey, but the tutors are really your go-to, and they are the wealth and knowledge that you need to be able to get to the endpoint assessment successfully. We use a blended delivery model, which Kate's going to go through a little bit later. So that includes mainly online with potentially some face-to-face. As I said, I will be your account manager, so I'll be dedicated to looking after you and the whole journey. And also we will give you access to your e-portfolio, which is called Bud. So there's no big paper portfolios anymore. Everything is all online, and you'll have resources on Bud, and Kate again can go through a little bit of information further on. Just to run through the benefits of apprenticeships, so we can look at developing and upskilling existing staff. So if you're currently employed as a member of staff and you would like to progress and you would like to, upskill in your current role to give you the extra skill and knowledge you need, again, we can support you. We find it improves staff retention and again, job satisfaction. So we can look at that in line with, appraisal time, looking at your CPD. Again, it can attract new talent to the education sector. Again, making most of the government-funded training. So a lot of our apprenticeships that we offer are funded by the levy pot. So again, we work with employers to look at, how to make the most of the levy pot and how we can spend it. Strengthening leadership and succession planning. So, sometimes you find that within a business, you're looking at potentially an aging workforce. So it's always looking at that succession planning and that progression within, rather than, sometimes employing a new member of staff. It's good to look within and promote from within first. And again, enhancing school performance and student outcomes. Who can do an apprenticeship? So again, we can look at a couple of different options. So learners early in their career. Again, we mentioned upskills. We do have a lot of learners that potentially look for a career change. So they might come into an apprenticeship slightly later in life. And then potentially learners that want to come into into a job role, but they're not based at college. So with the idea of a work-based apprenticeship that we offer, everything's done at work. So there's no disappearing off a day a week to college. Everything is done in the workplace. So again, there's a few eligibility criteria that again we do follow. So when we're doing that initial assessment on learners, we look at making sure that the learner doesn't already hold the same qualification or similar. Again, making sure if it's a new recruit, learners have to be employed. They have to ideally be doing a minimum of 30 hours a week, but we can offer, the opportunity still to learners that are doing slightly less hours, but we would just need to extend the duration of the apprenticeship. Must be a resident in the UK for at least 3 years. And again, as I mentioned, learners do need to have a contract of employment. Again, we do support learners that have a fixed term contract, which again is absolutely fine. We just have to ensure that the fixed term contract covers the duration of the apprenticeship. Also, when we're looking at potentially somebody doing an apprenticeship, we do match their job role against the standards. So we do like to make sure that we're not setting up anyone to fail. They are in the correct job role to undertake the apprenticeship they wish to do. So again, we do suggest that although the learners might not already be covering all of the elements for the apprenticeship standard, if that job role can be tweaked at the start to incorporate those elements, then we want to make sure we, again, as we said, we're not setting up anyone to fail and they are able to gather the skills and evidence they need. So a little bit about the programme. So this is gaining a recognised qualification for the library and information sector. Again, as I said, it's flexible, interactive. It features modules that are designed covering topics, which Kate's going to go through shortly. Topics such as legislation, management of information, preservation of data, continuous improvement and project management. So the qualifications are level 3. Typical duration is 18 months. That's if you're based on a 30-hour-a-week contract. Again, as I said, if you're doing slightly less hours, then again, we look at every learner on a case-by-case, but we would just need to extend that contract, that typical duration for the apprenticeship. Again, as I said, it's a blended learning model and the funding band is 6,000. So that's what we would draw down from the levy pot and that would pay for the apprenticeship. So typical job roles for the LIAS Level 3 apprentice, it could be an archive assistant, archive officer, librarian, information assistant, and then there is progression routes potentially of a senior librarian or archive coordinator in the future. Kate, over to you.
Okay, so I just said who I was, but just a little bit of background is that I've been in libraries for a very long time. When I started this, if I would have said to you that I am a stick of rock, I'd be public libraries all the way through. Since I've started doing this role, which I've been doing now for 2.5 years, I have learned so much about other libraries as well. So no matter which organisation or where you come from, there is a wealth of knowledge and tips and guidance that I can give that will help you go through the programme. This is a great learning opportunity as Anna said, about your role and learning more from that. So what do we cover? We obviously talk about the organisation and we look at things like where you work, what you do. I've had so many different apprentices from prison service to archives to architects and law. So there's lots of different areas that we look at. We look at where you fit in. We look at all the different types of information and knowledge that you have. So you'll understand about your collections, you understand about sharing knowledge, you understand about preservation of information. We also do archives, nature of collections. We then move on to things like working collaboratively with others, looking at collaborative tools, supporting knowledge, literacy and cultural enrichment. We look at effective management and team working, and we also look at meeting users' needs and expectations. That's the one I think is the most important, because obviously you want to help your customers and you'll develop your skills to be able to do that. We've also got project management. This is part of the assessments that you have to do. You are supported all the way through. So there are two sets of assessments which you need to be aware of. One is where you have practicals with me. We go through all these information. We look at the knowledge, the skills and behaviours that you want. And then we also work up for you to be able to deliver a project in your sector, real time, relevant to your role. So it's all around you and your apprenticeship. This is such a fantastic learning opportunity for you to develop many skills. We call these transferable skills. So even though you might be in one sector, you could easily transfer over to another one. So the first assessment then is based on assignments, based on all of these areas that I've just mentioned. And then, as I say, the second one then is your project. So I will be supporting you through that. It is blended learning. We have sessions on a regular basis, and there are lots of different tools and references that we can use to be able to do that. We have a great system that we use, our learning platform, and everything is at your fingertips. You don't even have to do any additional research unless you want to be able to gain all that knowledge that you need. It doesn't matter if there are certain things that we don't cover, that you don't have practical experience of, but we have suggestions, activities, and ways of being able to develop those skills. So that's the sort of program. So when I do my sessions, we go through a presentation, so you know exactly what's going on. We talk about evidence, what you can pick up, how you can collect it, and it is just a great opportunity for learning whilst you're working. Oh, and also getting paid. So that's the program that we have there. Can I have the next slide with the off the job hours? Thank you. So while you are learning, you have to show your development. And the way that we do that is through something called off the job hours. We have to cover 20% minimum, which is the set by the government. So we have to do 20% of contracted hours whilst you're doing your apprenticeship. So what this does is it allows the individual study time for reflection and growth. You can look at all different ways of being able to add that. So it could be learning opportunities, it could be shadowing somebody. So as I said earlier, if you're not working in that area or have practical experience, at least you'll be able to shadow somebody and get an understanding of it. There's mentoring, one-to-one performance, attending meetings and briefings. When we talk about off the job hours, it's about you learning something new. So you've got to be able to demonstrate a new skill, a development or a behaviour. So we can sort of say, yeah, we can see that development and you can see how you've grown as well. So the sorts of things that you can put in there, there's a lot of tools on our platform, Bud, which I've mentioned. So there's videos, there's fact sheets, and there's the presentation that I give you. It might be that you have in-house training that you have in your organization. So how to deal with customer services, for example. So that would go into your meeting user needs. Any meetings, any conferences that you go to, anywhere that you get any new knowledge and that you can share the keywords, you know, best practice. We all know those terms. So it's all about anything that you do that you've learned that you are able to demonstrate either within your role or within the apprenticeship, role permitting. So that's me for those. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kate. I don't know whether you just want to run through the endpoint assessment as well, if that's okay.
Sure, of course. So as I said then, the endpoint assessment is an independent assessment that takes place at the end of the apprenticeship. You will be ready for that. We go through absolutely everything, so there will be no surprises at all. So whilst you're with the tutors, you will do the 11 assignments that I've just mentioned earlier. and they're assessed, and then you're ready to prepare for the endpoint assessment, because all the endpoint assessment is with regards to that is a discussion around what you've done and the evidence that you've sort of provided. And you talk about examples that you've done. It's all about you. So you've got to remember that it's you that's done this. It's your evidence. So what you put together, you'll be able to discuss. You've then got to do a project up to the gateway, which is where you then go into your endpoint assessment. We actually prepare you for that because we get you to complete a proposal. So you've gone through all of the expectations, you know exactly what's expected, and you've got to embed these into your project. Once you're in the EPA, you then deliver your project, you then monitor it, you evaluate it, you have to write a report, and you also have to do a presentation as well. So it's an all-round understanding of project management, literally starting from the beginning right the way through to the end. All the way through, you will understand what the KSBs are, which stands for knowledge, skills, and behaviours, so that you know what's expected. EPA will determine the overall grade, so it will either be pass, distinction, or fail. So that's the sort of process for that. But you will be well prepared, because we also do mocks as well, just to build the confidence in being able to follow through on the end of point assessment. And that's our end point assessment process.
Thanks, Kate. So functional skills, there was a funding rule change in terms of learners that were aged 19 and over were exempt or could exempt themselves from functional skills. We still offer functional skills for learners who choose to do them. It is also employer-led, so we do have some employers that still require learners to complete their functional skills if they haven't already got their GCSE grades or prior functional skills. So again, we look at that on a case-by-case scenario, but we are employer-led with that, and it just depends on whether the employers wish the learners to do functional skills or not. So just to obviously finish up, we plant a tree for every learner that we support, which I think is lovely. So thank you for taking the time to listen to our webinar today. So the next steps, if you want to express your interest, you need to email the learning and development at gll.org email. We will be sending a copy of the slides out. So again, you can run through these through yourselves with your line manager. Once you've expressed your interest, then an internal application form will be sent internally from GLL, along with a learner pledge. Both yourself, the individual, and also line manager will need to sign and return. If you want to get any further information, my email address is anna.sheriff@lmpeducation.org. If there's any specific questions, I can obviously liaise with Kate and we can get back to you. Thank you very much for your time today.